Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 164th episode of our first run through the House of Light DLC for Book of Hours. First run on YouTube, playing as the archaeologist. Now, I have some news, which some of you who watch the stream will know, and unfortunately, it's a bit of bad news for the oncoming month. But I figured I should at least let people know what's going on. So I will be out of the country for the better part of August. And my original intention was to record a bunch of episodes in advance so that, even if there was a bit of a gap, there'd at least be something for people to watch. And that was before I was hit by a car this week. So I was crossing on a crosswalk in the intersection, had clear right of way. It's just a car made an incredibly stupid decision, plowed into me, and I have a 10 intensity knock influence. Still in quite a bit of pain, but overall, if you're gonna get hit by a car, I think I'm fairly lucky. I don't know if whatever experience I've had with stunt falls kicked in, but very, very badly hurt on my right arm. My leg has definitely got a lot of really bad... Actually, for those of you who want the gory details, if you've ever had a bad hit, you'll know that you'll get these really gnarly, sort of deep purple, almost black bruises. And it turns out that that is not the top level of bruise. There is another level of bruise, which when I finally got home and sort of cleaned everything, got ready for bed and all of that, I looked down and just thought, I really wish I didn't see that. Actually, similar sentiment to when I looked at my arm wound today. So again, the fact of the matter is though, I've already been back to work. I am in pain, but I haven't broken anything. I can manage pain, basically. But even in a practical matter of trying to get these episodes done today, I'm probably going to be able to get everything done for this week. I have a lot of prep to do for this trip that I'm going on, and I think the likelihood of me, I think I worked it out that I would need to do something like 24 hours of episodes in one go, and there just isn't enough time to do that. So I do apologize, and I do apologize for the long sort of personal start to the episodes here. What my rough plan is going to be is I'm going to record what I can, and what I think I'm going to do is once I have an idea of how many episodes I have in the can, I'll maybe distribute those over the 3 weeks. And so what I think that'll translate into is basically a slower release cadence for August. And one of the reasons why I want to do that is it strikes me as better to give people sort of signs of life for the thing that they like over a period of time, rather than, somebody who's just discovered the channel, follows, and then for the next 3 weeks, let's say, they're just seeing a bunch of uploads of Twitch stuff that they don't find very interesting. I sort of understand for a number of you that, you'll fit in the box of wanting to see the Book of Hours stuff and not the others. But with all of that in mind, I will do my best to try and give a comparable number of episodes, or at least something to keep people, give people a reason to keep coming back. I will try not to let the wound get in the way too much of the gameplay, although it is definitely a bit of a struggle still to get things recorded. And I'd love to joke that, I'd look both ways before crossing the street, except that this really is a case where I could not have done anything differently. I suppose maybe, had some acrobatics training or something like that to just leap out of the way at the last second. But this was well and truly someone who was not focusing on what they should have. And I'm the one who had to pay for it, sadly. Let us focus on the day's tasks. So I have some notes here about Some sky points and some... Yes. Some sky and knock. Now it looks like these books are already being read, so I'm just going to let the evening go through. I have like a rough idea in terms of what I wanted to do, but I think the reason why I set it up this way was just I would be using the elements of the soul anyway, so I might as well get my money's worth from the Book of the White Cat and the manner in which the alchemist was spared. Although that's not knock. No, that's sky though, so. So I have some notes here that I was going to put the sky points towards Aronoscopy, Furs and Feathers, and Sky Stories, and then knock to Surgeries and Exsanguinations and Horns. Is it Horns and Ivories? Yeah. I think I have a rough idea why, although I'm curious why I made a note of knock when the sky was in play. I think that was because I had done a little bit of a review and noted that something like Edict's Liminal maybe. There's definitely a couple of categories that are starting to be less interesting in terms of aspects. All right. So we'll still make money in the Sweet Bones. I suppose I can take a quick look here. We're already opening up the Fluttering Crypt. Our options here would be the Wintry Forbidding with its knock, the Wing Haunted Cave with its forge or grail. And I think I ordered something so that we can open the lower level pumps. So it's maybe not obvious to me that I want to push hard on the Wintry Forbidding. Well, never say never. Okay, so if I did this with Denzel... So first of all, I kind of get that for free. And the bronze knife gives one edge. Then metal. And I guess I would use the Wormwood Dream. Maybe Invincible Audacity. Actually, I should be using loopholes if I'm looking for knock. I actually think that's decisive, so let's revisit that for T-Dog. Never call Reverend Timothy that. All right. So, Reverend Timothy, one knock. So Shapt brings it up to 3. 5 for memory. Takes us up to 8. Really, we need 6, so at that point, we've already made the... Yeah, I think I was going to make a replacement Glassfinger Toxin. I also don't remember where I put the Sacrament. Yeah, so I mean... I don't really think I need to do that much more. There might be some other clever things that I can do to try and boost his knock, but really the Sacrament Asite's sufficient. And I don't really think there's a lot of value in trying to chase down an equivalent 6. Alright, now he's not the best source of memories, but I'm happy enough to kind of keep with him. So let's do Fixing and Mending. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 worth of odd jobs. Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversation, prayer, and tea. He'll offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church funds. We do appreciate the contribution. Okay. While I'm at it, actually, let's correct that. Where are we? Okay, that's orichalcum. Not quite how I planned it, but there we go. So I kind of think let me just take a look here. So I think if I'm going to be pushing up some knock stuff, it would be great for me to use up books like Road to Janus and Manual for Departure and that. Now, I may not be able to do all of them at once. In fact, I may need to read get the loopholes again. But let's try. I think what I'd like to do at the start is push as hard as I can on sort of the big, scary, like door and wall stuff, and then work my way down there. So one of the reasons why I'm focusing so much on door and wall is if we take a look at its aspects, it's forge and knock. So I've got a list here of skills that I'd like to level up. So we've got Aronoscopy, which is moon and sky, surgeries and exsanguinations, which is knock and heart, pearl and tide for moon and rose, hill and hollow, moon and scale, purifications and calcinations, winter and moon, horns and ivories, knock and scale, insects and nectars, moon and nectar, stone stories, scale and nectar, sky stories, rose and sky, furs and feathers, scale and sky, herbs and infusions, heart and nectar, desires and dissolutions, grail and moon, Magaphine mysteries, heart and moon, and edicts inviolable, heart and moon. So notice that forge isn't on that list anymore. Now this doesn't mean that we won't have any use for forge moving forward, but this is a great example of a skill that will, I can get, the lessons, these are a great example of lessons that will get me where I need to go. They will free up the resources for other levels. So for instance, in the case of horns and ivories, I don't need to worry about giving up scale to level that up. I can in fact use door and wall to do so. So in this case here, I want to use sort of the highest level books just because I have the opportunity now. And then, or I should, maybe I'll double check that. So we've got 8. I don't think either of these will be... Yeah. Doesn't hurt to check though. But yeah, the aim here is basically to throw as much knock at the problem as I can. Doesn't seem to matter between the two, but we'll do great signs and great scars. Okay, Vac. I'm using up Vac, aren't I? Alright, well I can at least get an idea of how realistic. So we're at 17. I think this is one I would take my chances with. But that does create a slight inconvenience so far as working with Reverend Timothy goes. So to set things up, I'm going to try reading... God, I hope I've got this right. I believe it's the serpent root that gives me that. So I have a minute to use this, which tells me I should probably use the loopholes right away. Okay, Cloudy Day doesn't do too much for me. Maybe I should be generating a bunch of memories to level things up. All right. Reverend Timothy, rector of Brandkrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally and the gate and the light. Make use of the rector's help before dawn. So I'm going to unexpectedly level him up with Shapt first. Education or Beguilement? Reason for that is I should get access to Vac earlier. Oh, hang on. Well, let's just double check. The manner in which the alchemist was spared. In 1782, Émile Verdier used this text as the basis for a presentation to the Academy of Sciences in Paris. He was executed in secret the following morning without trial. In the days of the Carapace Cross, when humanity lived in the dark and ate on its knees, humans could enter the mansis like vermin. One learnt the arts of flint, the arts of shaping and remaking. Through the black, the yellow, the red, the unwise mortal ascended to the shadow of the egg unhatching and remained in his service. He may be there to this day. Okay, so there's the sky aspect, and we got a foresight for that. I think we are all full up. And yes, that was the VAC text. So what I can do here is I don't have the same urgency to get Reverend Timothy opening up the room, so that's one of the reasons why I would prefer to use loopholes for the Road to Janus. Just trying to remember if I have like a Nocky tool or an ink that I can use. I don't think one of the typewriters will count in this case, but I also don't think it hurts to check. That was worth a shot. And I'm not quite ready to use up the Azimil here. So perhaps you provided knock, but not enough to match mystery knock. If you're lucky, you might still succeed. So I'm going to want to keep an eye on this, but we should see it through. And I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. Okay, so I should at this point probably put a little more thought into how I'm going to move these things up. So I'm going to just go by the top of my list here. So Aronoscopy was 1, so we'll put 2 points into that, which means I need 5 sky memories. So we can get that with, we'll use a Tryst. Now the ideal here, of course, would be to use the music. So actually, let's start with that. So there's this phonograph. I'm actually going a little crazy with the Shaft right now, so... Okay, so that's going to get us the cheerful ditty. Dialing melody. Savage Hymn. I'm going to use health this time. Okay, for that, alright, foresight impulses. Should also recognize that the clouds and the intuition are relevant here too. Confounding parables is definitely one for me to follow through on. I think at this point I'm willing to give up a core. I think in this case I'm willing to start moving on the some of the things that Reverend Timothy might generate as well. And then finally the governor's desk, where we will use... Oh heavens, I forgot I also have these. Salt's a tempting one, but I think I'm going to go for the Solace. Alright, it's a start. The Columbic Crypt. St. Columba, with 12 companions, brought the word of the unconquered sun to Scotland, where he founded a monastery on the blessed Isle of Iona. There he died, and there his bones remained until the Northmen came. But in Cornwall they speak of his 13th companion, a hybrid beauty called Rowena, who was perhaps his tutor, perhaps his seducer, or perhaps his daughter. At his death, the monks sought to stone her for her impurities. She bore Columba's bones away so the monks would not have them, substituting, out of tact or mischief, the bones of a horse. She brought the bones to a hidden isle, where she made a double foundation of nuns and monks, and became its first abbess. She would admit none to her order who was a virgin, nor innocent of any crime. Since then, the isle has been a refuge for all the world might consider impure. For all people who the world might consider impure. My emphasis was a little off there. Columbic sarcophagus. Sarcophagus, the eater of flesh. No bones remain, but the marble is chilly with power. So a kind of workbench that will accept, not really workbench, but that will accept element of the soul remains an omen, and memory remains an pigment. The rattling tunnels, either 15 Grail, 15 Winter, both of which I think are quite achievable. But of course, we're already working with Reverend Timothy today, so we won't worry about hiring Mr. Kill until maybe tomorrow. And of course, by then, we'll know this last room as well. My assistant and I fall easily into conversation. This would normally be where I apply the memory, but we'll give him the sacrament ascite. I can offer my assistants something to drink. This will increase their aspects. They'll also be glad of the refreshment. Alright, so that's going to be for Reverend Timothy. I'll probably get another one of these in prep. Serpent root, a massive rootstock, shiny with age, but still somehow viable. Tiny spidery scratchings marked with embedded eggshell shards encode a cryptic message. Seaborn, tide-drawn, Meniscate sister, witch lover. The house of the moon will always have its messenger, though its messenger is different each time, in eye and flesh and heart. Fights, feats, posterns, loopholes set down against the advent of eternity by powers favoring imperfection and impermanence. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. Now, I'm not so sure how I feel about sort of out of sync reading like this, but I do have a lot of Sky stuff to pick up, so I think I'm going to go ahead with it. Well, I say that, but there isn't actually anything else with Sky for me to read. So let's do, I think probably it's most appropriate to do salt. Down to the Russians. This has boosted their aspects appropriately. And exalt with a memory. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. Alright. And we've got a bunch of stuff to follow up on. Actually, there's still a chance. Okay, so we have relevant furniture. Art, it's educational, or extra effort soul. So I'm going to go... I know that there is a knock furniture because we saw that when we were looking for the... for like ink or typewriter or something like that. So, well, typewriter is ink in this game, so... All right. The Book of the White Cat. Stories brought by a blind white cat to Penelope of Gordian. The aviform owls, the crow, the laughing thrush, the dove, and the twin kites have been known to meet in the mountains north of Gordian at a place called the Roost to exchange gossip. Penelope indicates that mortals who hear their words directly are obliterated, but claims that her cat goes unnoticed and returns to her with rumors from the owls' meetings. The stories that Penelope claims as our gossip are fragmentary and confusing, accounts of contests where hope and dread and the Shadowless Empire are used as game pieces, agendas of ruin and remembrance from no known history. The most interesting element is the protective incantation she records at the end of the book, after she worries that the Hours might in fact learn of her spying. So, Revelation. Which I don't think... Oh, no, we definitely have space for. And 3 Watchman's Paradoxes to show for it. Opening the Sky, an unusual recording of Varro's Opening the Sky, composed for the coronation of the new king Henry IX. The record bears the suppression stamp Expunge. The first movement is soft, autumnal. The second's unsettling, febrile. The third is bright, soaring, rapturous. The fourth movement is glassy, slithering, a tintinnabulous icicle rattle. The fifth returns to the theme of the third, bright and rapturous once again, but this is a choral movement. It becomes apparent, though, that these are much, much too pure and high to be human voices. They recall birdsong, they recall the sweep of the windswept sky, blue turning black at the edge of the higher heaven, and they wrench the heart in a direction the Bureau does not permit. Singlefoot songs. Father Stanislav John Schaller, priest and diplomat, writes of his time on the slopes of Huashan, near the Grove of Green Immortals, but never too near. Schaller's relations with the Grove are cautious. It's a library of the tree, but under the hand of the hour named Applebright. In time, however, Schaller comes to be more sympathetic to the Applebright, which he suggests causes harm only when so invited. The Singlefoots of the title are one-horned, one-footed hill things with sweet but powerful voices, powerful enough to open the mountain. The Singlefoot sometimes trample pilgrims, sometimes heal them, sometimes coerce them to enter the mountain and become Singlefoots. Schaller explains that when he found this last becoming too tempting, he decided to return to his homeland. A Seventh Voice, Samuel Savage's cycle of comic poems about a band of players who double as footpads seeking a seventh member. Sir Sea Snatch is distracted by Mistress Twitchshell kissing Mistress Netherpearls and fails to see Master Magglepie making off with the players' funds. The whole enterprise almost ends in disaster when Mistress Wandereye's family insults her costume and she burns down their house in a fit of pique, but the day is finally saved by the Seventh Voice, a wandering bookmonger who returns the band's lost music. The Skeleton Songs, poems of greedy delight composed by the possibly pseudonymous Arbella Dusk, the rumored heiress turned madam turned poetess. In Arbella's introduction, she explains that the book was to be illustrated, but that the Suppression Bureau would not permit it. She hints that the illustrations still exist somewhere. The book is dedicated to Sir Parzival of the Red Cup. The 26 Delightful Fruits, the 7 Chastisements, the 9 Gardens, the 4 Regrets. Those Who Do Not Sleep, the Mystic Broadnax, discusses the origins of the Sister and Witch and of the Thunderskin. The Sister and Witch were born in 2 wombs, one poor, one rich, across the sea. The Sister was stronger in the aspect of heart, and so their survival was assured. The Witch was stronger in the aspect of grail, and so they were not satisfied. When the Sister and Witch came west, the Red Grail permitted their ascension, but then grew jealous of their power. It lured a great musician into the ranks of its names and caused him to be reborn from blood as a heart hour so that the Grail might maintain dominion there also, but its victory is not assured. And the Mirror of Melisynth, the daybook and dream journal of Abbess Melisynth, venerated as a saint and respected as an alchemist. Melisande speaks longingly of those we would call from behind the sky. Melisande claims that the sights and sensations arts that she describes can be used to invoke the dream of a star when sufficient sky aspect is invoked to uplift an ascendant harmony. Okay. So let's see what we're working with for Aranoscopy. The ideal here would be I would use Solace, Storm, and Intuition off the bat, but I need 2 more. So I guess at this point we can do Confounding Parable and say Savage Hymn. I think I'm going to settle for Trist in this case. All right, at last I'm something of an authority in this. Improve this skill to level 6. So of course, one thing that I want to keep in mind is, as far as Aranoscopy is concerned, I really only need 4 more memory, or actually, sorry, technically 3 more memories because I've got the clouds. After Aranoscopy, I was going to work on Furs and Feathers. Now that doesn't really require that much. So the other one was going to be Sky Storm. Ooh. All right, so basically all sky all the time. Okay, but that definitely tells me that I'll want to use the clouds. So hang on, what level did I want Sky Storm? Oh, that's right, yeah. All right. No getting around that one. All right, so let's use the Whist here. In this case, it's just sort of scrambling for whatever replacements I can get. So we'll read Unhatched Hymns. And in fact, let's prioritize a little bit of moon stuff if I can. Oh. I actually think that ship has sailed. Anyways, so I need a third for Aranoscopy at least, which I will get some of the more basic texts down. And at this point, I think we'll do Deaths and Their Evasions. So that gives me a little moon to work with. And then I think I'll also get an Impulse, again, against my better judgment. I don't remember where we were on these, so we'll start with Orchid Transfigurations and move on. Okay. And I think this is as good as a place as any to finish it off, so I am going to need to remember to deal with the opportunities coming up here. I suspect I'm going to find out just how little the stock of knock that I have is going to matter. I've got 1, 2, 3... 3 door and wall texts plus the one that I'm currently reading. I don't really know if I have that many opportunities to level up knock, but we'll do what we can. So again, Anbury and Lapidary, perfect example of something where I want to prioritize that for Sky. Door and wall is something I want to prioritize for knock, and then once those have been dealt with, that'll free me up for a few more things. So for instance, Edict's Liminal I can use the Moth for, etc. But we'll do all of that in the next stream. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you Wednesday in the next episode. Take care.